Welcome to the Atheist Witch Podcast, a bi-weekly podcast for witches or any curious minds to learn more about a non-theistic approach to witchcraft. Hello and welcome back to the Atheist Witch Podcast, the bi-weekly show dedicated to exploring how to live a truly enchanted yet evidence-based life. I'm your host, and today we are tackling the big picture. We're talking about the Atheist Witch lifestyle, your full immersive guide to practical science-minded magic. You may be wondering, what does it actually look like? When you take away the literal deities and the supernatural claims, how do you sustain the magic? And that is a fantastic question. What's left is a powerful, practical, and deeply rooted practice focused entirely on psychological intent, intentional living, and finding genuine awe in the observable universe. Let's start with the foundation of making the mundane magical. It's the power of intentional anchoring. For us, the magic isn't a thing that you cast, it's a way to focus your mind, and every repeated action becomes a neurological anchor, reinforcing your desired state. We are leveraging neuroplasticity. It's the brain's ability to rewire itself by aligning thoughts, emotions, and actions. Let me give you a practical example, the focus snap. If you struggle with procrastination, like me, choose a small, unique, physical gesture, like snapping your fingers or tapping your forehead twice, and use it only when you are truly in a state of deep, productive focus. After some time, that snap becomes a conditioned stimulus. When you're struggling to start, your special snap or tap instantly cues your brain to enter the work state. That's a spell of focus, grounded in classical conditioning. And I feel like every witch talks about this, but let's talk about that morning intentional stir. I will consciously stir my morning drink, and yes, I will stir clockwise for drawing things in, like energy, money, or opportunities. And I will stir counterclockwise for banishing, like stress or procrastination. It's a powerful moment of intention building before sitting down to enjoy your coffee or tea. This brings us to daily rituals and personal practice, like grounding, centering, and shielding, which is a type of self-regulation via neuroscience. It's not about keeping out demons, it's about managing your own emotions. For me, I take 3 deep breaths, and I visualize a stream of golden light coming up from the earth, and white light coming from the sky. And that light I gather and expand into a glowing aura around me as a shield that holds my energy. What you're really doing here in grounding, centering, and shielding is activating your parasympathetic nervous system. It's your rest and digest mode. Deep, intentional breathing sends a signal to your brain that you're safe, and that immediately lowers your cortisol. And the visualization is a technique to fully commit to that state of calm. When you visualize the shield against negativity, you're proactively managing your subconscious filters and your confirmation bias, making you less likely to internally magnify minor daily irritations because you assume that you're protected. For a practical tip here, as you visualize the shield, gently tap your collarbone or squeeze your left wrist. This will sound very familiar to a prior tip, but again, this physical action can anchor that calm, protected feeling into your body. So later on, a quick tap can instantly pull you back to that grounded state from your morning. Another morning ritual in divination is tarot as a journal prompt. A single card pull is not fortune-telling, it's a prompt for self-reflection and a way to set an archetype or a theme for the day. It taps into your subconscious to create clarity. I highly recommend pulling a card, writing down a quick note, and then coming back in the evening to review it. Speaking of the evening, try an evening banishment ritual. Don't just focus on the morning in your practice. At night, when you've washed your face or you've brushed your teeth, Visualize all that stress, negativity, and unhelpful thoughts of the day literally washing down the drain. This is a crucial mental banishment to prevent the day's anxiety from sabotaging your rest. For a more formalized ritual, you could introduce the concept of a fussing bowl. This is a small bowl of water and a pinch of salt. You could keep it next to your bed and spend 1 minute before sleep verbally or mentally dumping your anxieties, worries, and complaints into the bowl, and then you physically take that bowl and dump out the water. It's a physical act of boundary setting right before you sleep. Another little tip for a daily ritual and personal practice, you could make your own oracle deck. If you don't have a tarot or oracle deck, you can write down 20 questions or prompts on index cards like, what strength are you underutilizing today? Or what is one belief holding you back? Pull one every morning. It's a DIY divination. Next up in this episode about the lifestyle of an atheist witch, let's talk about glamour, clothing, and jewelry. Your personal aesthetic is a powerful form of glamour magic, choosing elements that psychologically reinforce your inner identity and your confidence. I treat dressing for the day as putting on my armor. Choosing clothes that make me feel strong, confident, and aligned with my own personal aesthetic is a conscious act of psychological costuming, or a concept known in social psychology as enclothed cognition. So for a practical tip here, you could build an intention outfit. For example, designate a specific jacket or shirt as your creative flow piece. Every time you wear it, only do your creative work. You're conditioning yourself so that when you put that shirt on, your brain immediately knows that it's time to create. When you consciously choose clothes that you associate with creativity, you are actively embodying the symbolic meaning of that costume. You can use color magic as mood regulation. We use color not for mystical energies, but for widely accepted color psychology. Wearing blue or navy when you need to be persuasive and clear-headed will cue mental clarity, or wearing yellow or orange when you need an energy boost actively stimulates your mood. The magic is in the intentional choice and in the resulting psychological shift. I treat my jewelry as intentional anchors and placebo triggers. As I've talked about in other episodes, I do wear stones like hematite or obsidian because their color and their association for me act as a powerful subconscious trigger for grounding. You can also use scent magic in your glamour. This is a powerful, non-supernatural way to influence your own mood and a little bit of the mood of those around you. Choose an essential oil that aligns with your intention, like peppermint for mental focus or lavender for grounding. Apply a diluted oil to your pulse points while visualizing your desired outcome. Quick side note here, friends, do not put essential oils directly on your skin without diluting them in a carrier oil. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the future when we talk about herbalism, but be cautious with essential oils, they are powerful. Using this scent magic, though, creates a strong olfactory anchor that you can use later simply by taking a deep breath of that scent. As we know, scent is highly connected to memory and our hypothalamus in our brain. When you get a new piece of jewelry, you can charge and dedicate it by placing it on a sigil overnight or cleansing it by moonlight and then speaking your goal over it in the morning. And now every time you wear that specific piece, your brain will remember the feeling of committed intention you had in the charging ritual. Speaking of sigils, to use them while you're out and about, you could design a very simple sigil, like one designed around the letters of a goal, like focus, and then you can charge it by tracing your finger on a surface that won't be noticed, like the condensation on a water glass or a palmful of hand lotion. This will infuse that mundane moment with your magical intent. Before we continue talking about the home of an atheist witch, let's talk about the hardest part of our practice, shadow work. For an atheist witch, shadow work is not about facing demons, it's about facing those uncomfortable truths in our own psyche. We define the shadow, which is a term borrowed from Jungian psychology, as the parts of yourself that you tend to reject: insecurity, anger, jealousy, or selfishness. For the atheist witch, Shadow work is a crucial process of radical, non-judgmental self-examination, seeking to identify the mental blocks and the self-sabotaging patterns rooted in past trauma or in limiting beliefs. And we do this to integrate those unwanted traits, not to banish them, so that they stop having power over us. A practical exercise here for actual shadow work as part of your atheist witch lifestyle is a dedicated shadow journal. And if you didn't listen to the last episode on magical journaling, I recommend that you check it out. When you feel an intense negative emotion, like overwhelming anger at a colleague, don't react immediately. Instead, take a beat, write about that feeling, and ask, where have I felt this before? Or what vulnerability is this anger trying to protect? Frame this as an analytical process, like a cognitive behavioral therapist analyzing a client, to understand the root cause of your emotional response. And this is how we dismantle those psychological walls. All right, let's lighten it up a little bit and talk about home aesthetics and sacred space for the atheist witch. My home is my primary working space. It's my sanctuary and a reflection of my inner self. For instance, my altars are completely free of deific imagery. They are focus spaces. They're filled with representations of the four elements or other sensory anchors that help me with my work. You can think about practical altar placement, like placing a small altar near your front door for increased social energy and career opportunities, or put one in a quiet bedroom corner for deep introspection. The altar cloth colors could align with your current working intention. For a quick 5-minute ritual, take 5 minutes to clean your altar. Wipe it down, straighten out objects. It's an act of cleansing by proxy, a ritual that cleanses your mental state at the same time as you tidy up your altar. Cleansing, by the way, is about intentionally disrupting old mental patterns. You could try decluttering as a banishment spell. Every time you physically remove an item that represents a past failure, a forgotten project, or a toxic memory, you are performing a potent, tangible act of banishment. Name the feeling that represents, and then get rid of it. You are cleaning up your physical space and your emotional slate simultaneously. Another practical tip here is the magical floor wash. If you have hard floors, you can do a ritual floor wash using a strong herbal infusion and some vinegar. And for me, as I mop towards the door, I will mentally guide any stagnant energy out of my space. I'll throw a small pinch of salt across the threshold, state my intent, and it is a conscious reinforcement of my own security. Similarly, if you have carpeted floors, you can scatter some herbs and then vacuum those up. And as you dump them out of the vacuum, you can similarly discard any of that stagnant energy or banish anything that doesn't serve your greatest good. Moving on, let's talk about earthly rhythms and communing with nature and seasonal cycles. As a green witch, my practice is deeply rooted in the cycles of the earth. I practice magic by getting my hands dirty. I like to put my bare feet in the grass, which is called earthing or grounding, and physically connecting with the earth. I also do admit to some animist tendencies. I do talk to my plants, and I am sometimes found talking to the local wildlife. A practical tip here for connecting with earthly rhythms is an elemental scavenger hunt. If you're feeling scattered, go for a walk and look for 4 physical objects that represent the 4 elements. That will help you step into the present moment and center yourself. Not to mention, being out in nature is really good for your mental health anyway. Part of observing the seasonal cycles for me is also observing the wheel of the year. I observe the 8 Sabbats reframed as celebrations of verifiable astronomical and biological realities. And if you haven't yet, check out my bonus episodes this year on each of the Sabbats. Here are a few specific ways that I will celebrate them. For the summer solstice at Letha, which is the longest day, the most powerful ritual for me is simply sitting outside during the peak sunlight hours and absorbing that literal energy. Safely, of course, please use sunscreen. I meditate on the sun's power and its biological necessity for life. The altar here can be a large sunflower or just a bowl of sun-dried herbs. The magic is in that intentional appreciation of the physical phenomenon of the day. At Imbolc, instead of lighting candles for a goddess, it's about planning and sparking new ideas for the new year. It's the time of year that I'll sit down with my journal, light a clean white candle, and list out long-term projects or commitments that I intend for this year. Samhain, which we've just gone through at the time this episode airs, is about introspection, shadow work, acknowledging endings, and honoring our biological and intellectual ancestral lineage. And Yule is the longest night. It's a time for inner strength, rest, and celebrating hope and resilience. Obviously, I didn't talk about every Sabbath here. I will in future episodes and also in the bonus series, but this is more about the lifestyle of an atheist witch and really communing with those seasonal cycles, taking the moment. It doesn't have to be a big deal to just observe and honor the astronomical and biological realities of our world. Speaking of our world, let's talk about magical gardening. This is a way of growing your intentions. Magical gardening, if you're able to do so, is the ultimate applied botany. It's entirely based on your effort, your observation, and biology. Plant with intent. Before you plant, you can write down an intentional word like prosperity or a sigil onto a biodegradable piece of paper and bury it with your seed. The growth of the plant can become a visual, living manifestation of your will. What about weeding as a banishment ritual? Gardening really gives you that physical outlet for banishment. When you weed, you are physically removing the unwanted. And as you pull up a really stubborn root, you can name a stubborn habit that you're trying to banish. And the satisfaction of seeing that weed gone is a powerful psychological reward. You can explore plant allies. Plant basil for financial luck. It's a fast grower, reinforcing the quick growth of your intent. Or for emotional calm, plant chamomile or lavender, and you get a known real-world chemical effect of relaxation layered in with your focus. When you're feeling ungrounded, simply kneel down and put your hands in the dirt for a few minutes. It's a powerful sensory reset, and it connects you to the ultimate element of stability, the earth. What about kitchen witchery? The kitchen is one of the most practical and joyful places for an atheist witch. Kitchen witchery is the act of infusing intent into the food and drink that nourish yourself and your loved ones. You can use basic herb associations to reinforce every meal's intention. Add rosemary, it's chemically proven to boost memory, or use cinnamon for speed and success in your oatmeal when you need a quick win. Every pinch of spice becomes a tiny, focused spell of self-medication and intention. If you're working on a goal that requires patience and effort, bake bread. The act of kneading is a physical ritual of resilience as you press and fold the dough. You're literally putting pressure on it, forcing it to develop strength and structure. Name the goal or the resilience that you need with every push, and the final product is a tangible symbol of your successfully cultivated strength. When you're canning or preserving food like jams or pickles, you're literally stopping the process of decay. You can use this as a ritual. As you seal the jar, mentally bind yourself to a new commitment. And of course, at the Sabbats, we have feasting and ritual, and the feast itself can be the ritual. For Letha, you could make a meal entirely of fresh, raw, sun-grown vegetables and fruits. Or for Yule, a feast of warm, heavy, root vegetable-based foods is a ritual of comfort and communal endurance. Let's talk about speaking your truth. Living the lifestyle of an atheist witch often means addressing how to come out of the broom closet. First of all, remember that discretion is agency. You don't owe anyone an explanation of your practice. Knowing who to tell and when is vital. You do have to put your safety, security, and personal boundaries first. Or if you want to share but you're nervous, you can use soft language. You don't have to start with, "I'm a witch." You can start with, "I've been exploring a new mindfulness practice that's really helping my stress." Or if you're referring to your altar, you can call it your focus station or your meditation nook. Or if you have someone that you really trust, You can tell them, I'm a witch, I'm an atheist witch, I'm living an atheist witch lifestyle, I do all of these things. You can share as much or as little as you are comfortable with. Remember that your practice belongs to you. So what does all of this add up to? What is that cohesive vision of the actual lifestyle of the atheist witch? For me, it's the commitment to live a deliberately enchanted life, where I am the source of the enchantment. It's about trading the comfort of guaranteed supernatural protection for the profound empowerment of knowing that your focus is the most powerful force in your reality. When you choose to live this way, you do start seeing the world a little differently. You'll see the laws of physics, chemistry, and biology not as cold, limiting rules, but as the true and verifiable magic of the universe. This sheer, mind-boggling reality of existence, the intimate connection between our minds and our bodies, is a deep source of awe. The atheist witch lifestyle is one of rigorous self-examination, like in shadow work, joyful sensory engagement through scents and kitchen witchery, and deep reverence for the natural world. This is a life lived in awe of reality, where every intentional action, from stirring your coffee to planting a seed, is a spell cast by your own will. The cohesive vision is a life where mindfulness is magic, science is sacred, and where your personal power is built not on faith, but on the undeniable evidence of your own focused will and disciplined practice. That's all for today's dive into the atheist witch lifestyle. If this resonated with you, let me know. You can find me on Instagram at anatheistwitch or email your questions and comments to anatheistwitch@gmail.com. Join me in 2 weeks for the next episode where I'll explore meditation and journeying from a psychological perspective, of course. Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep making your own magic.